Exactly 1 o'clock now on my watch. I'm going to wait another 30 seconds or so, then we can kick off. Okay, great stuff. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining. I just want to explain a few housekeeping rules or virtual housekeeping for the platform today. So we've got a chat panel. If you guys look sort of towards the middle of your screen, you'll see a chat panel that you can use to send some questions to myself, and there's also some other guys on this WebEx that would be able to field those questions for me while I'm busy presenting and doing the demo. So feel free to type any question that you have in the section, and the guys will help you to answer that. There's also a handout section. So if you look sort of towards the top of the screen, right next to the chat heading, there's a handout heading that you can click on, and there'll be a PDF document there that you can download and share with everybody, which is basically today's presentation, and you guys can have a look at that. And then lastly, I am recording this WebEx, which we will be making available on our YouTube channel. So you guys will also be receiving an email after the WebEx with a link to that recording, and you are also welcome to share that far and wide. All right, so let's get right into it. There's going to be a short presentation, and then I'm going to do a demo of the ThoughtSpot platform. So today's presentation and demo is geared around manufacturing and logistics. So you guys will also see during the demo that the demo databases that we're using is manufacturing and logistics targeted, and also the analytics and the insights that we will be getting will be beneficial for guys in that sector. All right, so let's kick into it. I'm very excited today to talk to you about ThoughtSpot. We see ourselves as the search and AI-driven analytics company, and our mission is to help make the world more fact-driven by making analytics as easy to use as your favorite app. So what is big data? It's a problem that everyone faces today. And as you can see, according to this quote from 2013 made by a very insightful man, it's a problem that existed then already. I don't feel it's necessarily relevant anymore today. And let's see today if we can try and solve that problem for you. So our reliance on data teams has created a massive bottleneck. With only about 1.5 million data experts in the world and over 1 billion knowledge workers, building a report takes on average 5 days. It's obvious why so many of us are left waiting for reports. And this creates a vicious cycle. So what happens? I mean, you tend to give up. You might use what you have been given, but it's not worth waiting in line for. We call this the curiosity tax. And curiosity is the currency of innovation and business. And here we are with a massive tax that no one wants to pay. So why does it take so long to get answers? It's because the dashboard creation pipeline is slow and it's complicated. Data sits scattered across tables and through dozens of data sources, which your data teams need to extract and put through complicated ETL processes to simplify the data model. In order to get around performance issues, they need to segment the data into data marts and then summarize the data even further into cubes and views, which is a problem I'm sure everyone is familiar with. So actionable insights are happening at the granular level, but because the data is growing and moving faster than ever, these insights have become elusive for even the best of analysts to uncover, which makes getting the right insight to the right person at the right time almost impossible. Today's dashboards often give you a snapshot of today, but are obsolete by tomorrow. This gives a huge opportunity for AI to address these human scale limitations. So how can ThoughtSpot help? We believe that analytics should be as easy as your favorite app. I mean, everyone's used Google, they've used YouTube and Uber. Google gets the answers to your questions using search in seconds. YouTube's AI learns what type of behavior you elicit on the internet, and it sends content that resonates with you. Uber gives insight immediately to the right person at the right time. So who's ThoughtSpot? Let me give you guys a quick intro and a little bit of background on the company. ThoughtSpot was founded in 2012 by a team of engineers who previously worked for Google, Oracle, and Bing. Two very disruptive technology innovations to the world of analytics that led them to be named a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. Making use of it's made them the fastest ever vendor to reach the leader quadrant, and the first new vendor there in 6 years. First of all, they built an entirely new breed of search engine designed from the ground up for analytics. Anyone can now ask data questions and get answers in seconds. Secondly, they've led the industry with the introduction of an AI-driven insights engine we call Spot IQ that automatically provides you with relevant data questions you might not even have thought to ask. So how does it work? ThoughtSpot provides value in 3 unique ways. It's simple. We empower everyone in your organization to make smarter decisions with easy access to data. Secondly, it's smart. The AI asks the questions of the data, it detects anomalies, and it identifies root causes that you might never have thought to ask. And lastly, it's fast. We help you to uncover granular insights from billions of rows in seconds. When it comes to analytics, we all know if you're not fast, you're dead. So ThoughtSpot delivers a consumer experience, which means answers in seconds. All this happened using your very own business terminology, which is learned by ThoughtSpot on the fly. We call that Google for your business. ThoughtSpot lets you drill anywhere across a later dimension, so you don't need to spend time predefining drill paths or model the data further. It's an integrated platform with enterprise governance and security. Granular security at the column, row, or even cell level lets you control who's allowed to see the data, even down to the search suggestions. Very similar to the Google experience. We bring business and technical teams together. So unlike the last generation of analytics that sold around IT and they created shadow BI all over the company, we tackle big strategic challenges and create aligned solutions. An example of this is shown on the slide, where we successfully addressed 2 very different strategic objectives through means of search-driven approach. So not only did Gartner name ThoughtSpot as a leader, but they recently came out and has said that search and AI are the future of analytics with this quote. If there's any questions at this stage, I can take a little bit of a break and maybe answer some of them before we jump into the demo. If you can just give me 1 second to switch the screen between the two. If someone can maybe just send me a good to go there. My screen is now shared. Great stuff. Thanks very much, Jarno. All right, so like I said in the beginning of the presentation, we're going to be jumping into 2 different demo databases. The first one that I'm in is around a manufacturing plant with certain sensors that have been installed on the different plants that's gathering IoT data on a daily basis, which can then be used to analyze and for instance, break down costs and so forth. So let me first of all give you a little bit of background on ThoughtSpot and the platform. So what you see now is the ThoughtSpot platform that I've logged into. It's a web-based system. And it gives you a very nice clean feel, which is very similar to some of your social media platforms that everyone's used to using. It's profile based, so you've got a certain profile that you log into, and this profile can only see certain data sets. So it only has certain rights, but I'm not going to get into too much detail of that right now. So what you see in front of you is a list of favorites. Now, these favorites are dependent on what I have favorited, which items I would like to see on a daily basis. I don't have to go and dig for them. I can see them right there. There's a following section. So similar to the favorites, I could maybe follow someone else's pinboards, and if there's any changes that happen, then that will happen on the following section. There's also recently viewed items. So very similar to a search history in Google, it comes up with your recently viewed items so that I can quickly access them from there. It shows me recently trending items, and it has my team activity so that I can see what are my teams doing, what are they searching, what are they busy with. And then there's a very interesting part at the bottom where it says, did you know? Now, this is the Spot IQ engine that comes up with certain anomalies and trends in the data. It picks up through machine learning what I'm interested in, what areas of the data I interrogate quite often, and it then comes up with these anomalies for me to use. Now, this is a very basic view of what's happening, and I'm going to start from a concept of, first of all, I'm in the manufacturing database at the moment, so I know more or less what I'm looking for. I want to go and look for a way to save cost, and my CEO has given me the task of bringing down costs in the plants. So my view of it is I have got some IoT data, and I can go and interrogate that and get an idea of what sort of costs are being spent, and what areas are we spending too much money on. So first of all, ThoughtSpot has the concept of pinboards. Pinboards are very similar to other BI tools out there, where you can actually build visualizations, and it shows it to you on a very nice view that you can go into. Now, this gives you an idea of what a pinboard would look like. I'm actually in the wrong database here, so if you can just excuse me, I need to just log out and actually go into the manufacturing one. Log in there quickly. Apologies. All right, so we logged into the system there. I've explained to you what the idea is around the favorites, and I've actually got a pre-built dashboard that I can look at, or a pinboard, how is the term that ThoughtSpot uses. So I log into this pinboard every day, and I have a look at it, and these are my figures that I check every day. And if you look at this first one over here, the electricity usage growth this year, you can very easily see that, no surprise that the electricity usage is growing for the last 6 months now. So that gives me an idea of where to go and dig, where I could potentially save a bit of money. So we can go and have a look at that area. Before I'm going to dig into that using the search bar, I just want to explain to you some functionality when you log into the pinboards. You can, of course, have a look at the pinboards as they are right now. You can right-click, and you could very easily drill down into that data. There's the concept of presenting them. So if you jumped onto a Zoom call or a Teams call, you could very easily use this, and you can present them. There is very easily way to copy a link to this pinboard, and you can share that with your colleagues. You can download it as a PDF, and you can also follow it very similarly to what I explained earlier. If this was someone else's pinboard, I could follow this, and I could set up a schedule where it would basically refresh the data for me. So now, having a look at this pinboard, we've discovered that electricity might be an area where we could potentially save some money. Just to give you a bit of background, again, we've got a database here of certain plants, and those plants are running air cons, and those air cons are saved in this database as a specific model. So let's go and have a look if we could figure out which one of those is using the most electricity. So let's have a look at electricity usage. And we can do that per customer, and that will just very easily give us a visualization of the average electricity usage per customer, which is not really very useful. So let's have a look at it on a state base. This is obviously a US database, so it will be states. And what this visualization now shows us is the darkly colored red are the areas where the electricity usage is very high, and no surprise, in your warmer areas in the middle, the electricity usage is quite high. So we can have a look at that, but still it's not really very useful, because we still need to have a trend. You know, it could be that there's a massive fluctuation in temperature. So let's add the temperature, the actual temperature of those areas to that. Want to clear that screen over there. As you can see, I'm using the search bar at the top to actually interrogate this data. These terms that I'm filling in here are fields on your database, or they could be terms that you use within your business to actually understand the data better. So there's the map that we can look at. Still not very useful. Let's change that to a line stacked column, which would be better to view. And now we can start seeing a little bit of insight. Not great yet, but we can see that those are the fluctuations in terms of electricity for the different areas. But what we also can see is that the temperature is fairly static. There's not really a dip in temperature anywhere. So I might want to use this piece of data again. So I want to pin this, and I can actually pin that to a pinboard that I've created there, to be used in future for this specific exercise. So we can add that. So this gives me an idea of the electricity usage, and I can see the electricity is not really going up or down according to the temperature. So it could be that maybe there's a unit that's using more electricity than any other unit. There's multiple variations of that, but let's have a look at potentially understanding the electricity usage again. But now let's have a look at it per model. And now we're starting to see something that's quite useful here. What we can see is we have an outlier. We have an outlier in terms of the FS800, which is a specific aircon unit, and it's using a lot more electricity than any of the others. So let's try and find the lowest one by sorting this in a descending format. And there we can quite clearly see that FS800 is by far the one that's using the most electricity for the same time period, and the HC100 is the lowest. So that gives you an idea of something to task a project team with, and say to them, listen guys, there's obviously the FS800 units are using more electricity than the HC100s. There might be a project on the go already to replace these. You know, there's multiple directions that you can go with this, but it gives you an idea of how you can very easily interrogate your data, tunnel into it, and understand where most of your electricity is being used. I hope that gives you guys an overview of using the standard search. There's a lot of functionality that I didn't show. And for instance, we can change the visualizations. We can take this data and we can swap it over to a table view. This table view can then be exported into Excel for interrogation there further if you wanted to. And that basically concludes the manufacturing demo that I wanted to do very quickly. If you guys want to throw some questions, you're more than welcome. I see there's Johannes thrown a question around everything done. Thanks, Johan. If there's anyone else, I'm going to jump into the logistics demo, and I want to show you guys the functionality of Spot IQ there. Now, the use case that I want to just explain there is you're a logistics fleet manager, and you have got a KPI around your customer service is down. Your CEO got a call from quite a few customers saying, listen, we're not happy with your service. And he's walked past you in the hall and he said to you, listen, we need to up the customer service. So you don't know exactly what you're looking for. You've got a lot of data that you can use, and you want to make decisions based on data, not just a gut feel. So let's try and use ThoughtSpot to understand what exactly you can do in that case. So I'm going to log out now of the manufacturing one, and I'm going to log into logistics and understand that. So again, the CEO has given you a task. Listen, we need to up the customer experience. There's quite a few customers that have complained to me, and you need to make a plan. So what I do have, the data that I do have, is based on destination cities for my different lanes. I've obviously got the origin city. So obviously there's origin and there's a destination in terms of these different trucking transportation routes that they take. And there's another KPI that I use, which is the on-time percent. So it gives you a percentage of these different lanes. So that can give you an idea of the percentage of on times between the origin and the destination. Again, this is a vast amount of data. It would take, I mean, a data analyst probably months to try and figure out exactly where the problems lie in terms of this data set. So what you can do at this point is you can actually pass it to Spot IQ by clicking on this little light bulb over there. And this whole data set now gets passed to an AI engine for analysis. And it actually comes up with this prompt to ask you, so how do you want to massage the data? Which fields do you want included? Which do you feel is relevant? So I feel revenue is a relevant field because it's important to understand what revenue are we making in terms of these different routes. Total shipments is not that important for me. Yield, I would find important. Delivery date, we keep there in terms of to keep a timeline. Lane, I'm going to keep in there to identify. Account name, I find important as well because I would like to identify the account names. Empty load is an interesting one because it happens that some of these trucks actually get to a destination city and they're empty. So they haven't picked up anything from their origin city and they've driven a whole trip with an empty load, which is obviously not very efficient. We don't need the zip code, bowl number. Sales rep is interesting. We want to keep that. Delivered with appointment, I'm going to take out. Carrier, we can take out. Destination country. Destination city, we want to keep. Origin city, we want to keep. So essentially, those are the columns that we're going to analyze at this point. And we can even analyze it further by skewing or moving around the algorithm in terms of what type of outliers do you want to detect, minimum rows, all of those kind of things. All right, so let's pass this to the Spot IQ by clicking on Analyze. And it now gets passed to the engine. Now, on average, it takes about 20, 30 seconds to do. As you can see, I've run this before quite a few times. And I'm going to actually tempt the demo guards, and I'm going to wait for this one to run. It shouldn't take more than about 20, I'm saying about 30 seconds. And the reason why I'm waiting for it is I'm going to actually delve into the amount of data that's being analyzed. So it's very fast if you think about it. There, it's done in 34 seconds. So let's have a look at the results quickly. Now, when you go into the results, this is the Spot IQ interface of what's happened here. And what it's found is it's actually found 20 insights, and it's analyzed 28.1 million rows, and it's only taken 22 seconds, which is astounding. If you click on this little eye here, it gives you further details, and it says it's performed 36,000 drills and it's discovered 15,000 different insights. But it obviously no one can action 15,000 insights, so it shows you 20 out of them, which it feels is the most relevant. So now if we have a look at it, let's quickly delve into it. And it's quite interesting what it finds. It very, very, very easily, it says to you, listen, your yield for these two account names are very, very high. So that is very, very useful because you know which accounts you can focus on in terms of yield and maybe add more routes there, add more trucks, because you know these accounts offer a very high yield. Okay, so that's great. It gives you insights in terms of your account name for these cities. It says for Birmingham to Memphis, account name there, Librodonic, has significantly higher total revenue out of 430 values. So again, that's an area that you can focus on. But still, we haven't answered the CEO's question around bring customer experience up. We've had complaints. We need to up our customer experience. Now, this is where Spot IQ very quickly helped me. It's given me a list here, and it says the on-time percentage by account name. So it's given me a list of account names here, and it says they've got a significantly lower on-time percentage out of 352 other values. So for these accounts, you can quickly go in and delve deeper into that and understand what's going on. Why is the on-time percentage so low? And it gives you a data it's a data-based project that you can actually action and go and have a look at these accounts. It gives you a yield by sales rep, so you can understand why Carly is doing so great. Maybe have a telephone conversation with her and understand how she runs her business. Why is her yield so much higher than any of the others? This gives you a yield by delivery date. Now, what we have here is a trend line, and we've obviously got an outlier there. So my thinking is that this could be a data entry issue. This is definitely an insight that you need to have a look at and action. Now, here's another one in terms of on-time percentage. So it shows us that this sales rep has got a much lower on-time percentage than any of the others. So Kasim will definitely be getting a call from me and to understand what exactly is going on in his business. Now, this is very useful. So as you see, there's a thumbs up down at the bottom, which is very similar to a social media type interaction where you could say, you know what, Spot IQ, thanks very much. I hit yes, and this will be used again. If I find something not to be useful to me, I hit the no, and the engine learns by my interaction with it that, you know, which of these insights do I find useful, which would I want to be showed to me again. Here's another one in terms of total revenue by sales rep. Again, Clementine's revenue is way higher than any of the others. So we need to understand why is that. Okay. There's an on-time percentage by delivery date. Interesting. So this gives me an idea of which dates I need to focus on in terms of my on-time percentage, which is the KPI that we're looking at for this specific analysis. So this is very interesting. My on-time percentage is only 50% during December 2019. Gives me a very nice focused area to go and look at to understand why did this happen. Could it be over December that the truck drivers are tired after a whole year's of work and they may be taking a little bit of time off? There's a number of reasons why that could have happened. And we can scroll through them, and there's a lot of these that come up. It also picks up certain trend lines and cross correlations. So it's picked up a cross correlation between your on-time percentage and your yield, which is interesting because obviously your on-time percentage is closely linked to the yield. It also picks up trend lines, which is, this is quite an interesting one where it says that Alpharetta Destination City and Pine, your yield is actually trending downwards, which is not a great trend for any trucking company. So you need to understand why is the yield going down in terms of these two cities. That gives you an area of focus again that you can have a look at. Of course, all of these insights you can also pin to a dashboard or a pinboard, as I've mentioned earlier, and you can have a look at that again at a later stage. You can use that pinboard in a presentation, and yeah, so that basically concludes the demo of the manufacturing and the logistics data sets. I hope you guys have thrown a few questions. I'm just going to have a look at my screen interface there. And I see that Minosh has asked a question around data sources. Thanks for fielding that, Yarnu. I really appreciate it. You guys are more than welcome to ask more questions. And between Yarnu and Tiens and myself, we'll be able to answer them. Thanks, Tiens. I see Tiens is going to help us with that question around the top 20 relevant insights are shown based on what? I'm just going to enable Yarnu and Tiens's mics as well, and they can jump in. Yarnu, I've just actually made you a presenter, and Tiens, I'm going to make you a presenter as well. So you guys will be able to talk as well within a few seconds from now.
So, yes, Tiens, you go.
Okay, I'll just elaborate a little bit more on the question with regards to the top 20 relevant insights. So Search IQ, as the AI bot, will look at the user doing the searches and the interaction with the database. And according to that, it will then look, it will take the outliers within the searches and the data set used by a specific user. And then it will find apply the algorithms to that and then find the insights. So it's not necessarily 20, it could be 1, it could be 5. So it can differ. I hope I answered that question.
Maybe just also to add to that, Tiens, you're quite right that the AI engine will learn from the ranking and also the thumbs up, thumbs down, as Archie said. But also just maybe when Archie did the Spot IQ analysis, there's an advanced tab that's not for this session today, but in there it will actually show you what statistical parameters is used to identify outliers, and you can, as an advanced user, play around with those outliers. But as a default, the system will use those outliers, as I say, statistical parameters and so forth, to come up with these outliers. It's like
I'm quickly going to jump into that tab just to show it to everyone. So first of all, what I showed was you can actually tell the engine which fields you find it should analyze for you. It doesn't make sense to necessarily pass it all the fields. You maybe only want to focus on a specific set of fields. That's the easy way of maybe configuring it. Then there's the advanced tab, which you can jump into. Now, excuse me, I'm not a stats guy, I'm not a quant, so I'm not going to try and explain to you what Z scores are and the median and that sort of stuff. But this is where you can also configure the Spot IQ engine, how exactly it should run that and try and find those insights for you, like the maximum p-value, the correlation coefficient. So there's quite a bit of there's quite a few levers that you can pull in terms of which insights you want to see. These are obviously not the only ones. The engine also has a machine learning in terms of what you are actually interested in based on previous views. Great stuff. You guys are welcome to ask any questions. We've still got quite a bit of time left. I'm not going to obviously keep you logged in for the full hour if you don't want to, but you guys are more than welcome to ask any questions. What I would really like to do is potentially follow up with all of you. You guys will get an email from me in the next day or so. And what we could do is to set up a one-on-one session similar to this, maybe on Teams or Zoom. And I could understand what your requirement is, and we can also have a pricing discussion. Just for those that have maybe logged in late, I am recording this session, and I will be putting it onto my YouTube or the B2IT YouTube channel, so you guys will be able to view it again as well as share it with your teammates.
I see there's a question from Henry Archie, and
Yes.
Henry, there's two parts of this. Yes, some of it is statistical analysis, which is what we're looking at on the screen now. Where the AI comes in is the system learning from your preferences and from what you find useful. So the first time you run this analysis, it's going to be very much a statistical exercise. But as the system gets more and more used, the machine learning kicks in, and it's learning from the choices you are making and the things you are finding interesting. I hope that answers your question. Good. Henry's happy.
Thanks, Henry. Shall we give it another minute or so for everyone to maybe ask a question? If there's no further questions, then you're welcome to reach out to me on email, or like I've said, I'm going to be reaching out to you guys after this WebEx on email, and you will be getting a mail of the link to the recording. See, we have another question there from Henry, Jarno and Tiens around the broad outline of the process, around the raw data, and then what happens. You guys want to field that?
See if Tiens picks it up, otherwise
Yes,
I can as well.
Jana, you can, if you can hear me. So I think maybe also this will elaborate a little bit further with regards to the data source question. So ThoughtSpot consumes, there's various ways, but I'll take two of the major ways that you ingest data into ThoughtSpot. One way is to use ThoughtSpot's memory-based database called Falcon, where you can import a simple CSV file as large. There's no limits on the size, and you will ingest that whole data set to the most granular level into the ThoughtSpot database. There are other ways. There's multiple ways to connect to other data sources, and data sources from SQL, from a SQL database, from a simple CSV file, all the way to any type of cloud database that's out there. So there's multiple ways that ThoughtSpot connect to those, and obviously everybody's unique environment will determine how we ingest the data into ThoughtSpot. So ThoughtSpot does use, you can use ODBC and JDBC drivers. You can also have a data dump onto the ThoughtSpot server that ingests automatically the data into the Falcon engine. And then, Jano, if you can just help me with the latest ThoughtSpot.
The Embrace technology. Yes.
That's right. So in Brace, you will be able to then, you won't need to ingest the data into ThoughtSpot, but you can then have a connection straight into the source database, and the search will search that data wherever it resides. Good. You can, anything else, Janu, you can perhaps add to that?
Maybe I'll just add to for Henry's question. Getting the raw data into ThoughtSpot is the first step of the process. There is then also some enrichment that happens within ThoughtSpot of the data, and that enrichment is basically teaching ThoughtSpot your business terms. So, for instance, let's say we have a database field coming into ThoughtSpot with a name called value. Now, value doesn't mean anything to the business users. So what we will do is we will actually teach ThoughtSpot that value, actually, you want to search it by calling it sales, but you can also create multiple synonyms for that field. So we can teach it that when people ask for sales or revenue or performance or any of those terms, it will return that value from the data. So that's part of how the system is taught. Then the next question is around, does the models, do we need to train the models before it can give insights? Not for the statistical part, because the statistical part is, as the earlier question was, it's very much a statistical answer. So it's finding outliers based on certain statistical parameters. So there's no training needed for that. Of course, the machine learning part, where the system is learning from the preferences, the important things that I want to know about and that's useful to me, that takes some usage of the system for the Spot IQ engine to actually become smarter and smarter and more relevant in terms of what I want to see.
Yeah, just to add to that, also what ThoughtSpot does is ThoughtSpot, the way that it actually indexes data, excuse me, the way that it indexes data is that already it will take subsets of each field, and it won't take a complete value, but it can take sections of values within a field. So that makes the indexing very powerful, and the aggregation, you can multiply one field's aggregation almost by 10 times or 20 times because of the way that it indexes. So ThoughtSpot's AI engine will then also look at the way that it's indexed and look for outliers within those fields, which makes it very powerful.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Tiens and Jarno.
Yes, you can. Ready? So there's a way for you to add, it is the R. Archie, maybe if you can show, there's a
sure, the R integration.
Yeah.
Cool. So what we can do is, not 100% sure where that is. Is it?
I think maybe under info, just check info. There's an I there on the right.
Okay, yes, there we go. So no, it's not there.
Okay, so there is a way to add custom R algorithms, and ThoughtSpot's also basically will point you to a list of predefined R scripts that you can then ingest into ThoughtSpot, and it will bring a custom R digestion or aggregation into the data set. So yes, that is possible. How do I test drive this, Henry? So that's the best question we've heard. Archie, you can answer Henry if you like.
Sure. Okay, so Henry, what we could do, and I think the best way to take it to a next step is Let's set up a separate session on this with you guys, and we could discuss a potential use case. ThoughtSpot is not made to just pump your whole data warehouse in and then start playing. It makes sense to identify a specific use case, and that use case ideally needs lots and lots of data at a transactional level, because that is where ThoughtSpot really shines. And if I say lots and lots, I'm talking billions of rows. So if you can give me a potential use case where you guys have struggled in the past, maybe you've used some of the other so-called BI tools, those tools really struggle at that sort of volumes, because you have to build in aggregations and cubes to get it to work. Or you have to throw massive resource behind it for it really to work. So that would be an ideal use case for us. Not it doesn't have to be, but that would be ideal. So let's take it offline. I'm going to set up a session with you, and we can discuss a potential use case. We've got a demo environment up and running in Amazon Web Services, and between Tiens and Yadu and myself, we can quite easily set that up for you, and we can take that further. That obviously is the same for everyone else that's interested. That would be the ideal way to really show the value. It's a very a standard proof of value exercise.
So Archie, just to add to that, and Henry, it's really easy for us to take a sample set of your data and import that into ThoughtSpot. It's not a big, tricky technical endeavor. We just need to understand the business case, and then we'll get the data, create an environment for you, and then you can test drive. No problem.
Any other questions? Great. I see Henry's happy. Cool. I think that concludes the session for this afternoon. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate the time. And as I've said, now we will be sending you guys an email of where you can find the recording. Thanks very much, and have a great afternoon.